So today on Project Shop, we got a little pile of copper wire, some nuggets over there, and we're gonna have a little stripping party and a drag race. So it's been a while since we used the Model 1000, the old Strip-Tec, and we got Oliver over here, and he actually, I painted this, and he actually hand etched all this in there for me, the Model 1000, which is pretty cool. It's been a while. We're gonna run this a little bit today. And I just want to show, I'll cut some even lengths of this stuff, this wire too, and show you the speed difference between these two. And you know, the difference of a 4-roller system and a 2-roller system. Now this thing actually does a pretty good job, but it makes needles, and you know, to me it needs a little bit of tweaking. This is the roller setup. It's just 2 rollers with varying blades, and the only real issue with this one is like the wire tends to twist as it goes through, and then it goes in between. Like when you feed the wire through one hole, it actually sometimes rides on 2 blades on either side, so it makes multiple cuts, and the smaller you go, the more blades you wind up hitting. And you know, it makes a mess, but it does work. Like if there was an issue with this wire stripper, which there always is, this thing would I wouldn't stop stripping. We can just keep on moving. So we're gonna set this up and show you kind of like the difference between how you got to dial this one in compared to how you got to dial this one, and this one is way more involved. But once you get this thing down, it is way more efficient, and if you dial it in right, you can do a 1 pass without having to peel the stuff off. It'll literally peel itself. Okay, we're gonna get this party started now. I cut 4 lengths of this red, white, blue, and black wire, same length all the way out there. What we need to do is get the machines dialed in to that size wire the best we can, and then I'll run them both at the same time and show you how fast this machine really is compared to this one. Now this one here, I believe, is a 1.5 horsepower 110 motor. This one was originally a 3-horse 110 motor. I've since upgraded to a 5-horse 220 motor and added a safety clutch to disengage it when shit gets a little hairy. And this thing is an absolute beast of a machine, but it is originally, what I can determine, made in China. So the quality is not really there, and one of the reasons I really wanted to get this milling machine up and running is I'm literally going to replicate this, but on a more precise, made in America type situation. But for now, let's get this machine dialed in to this wire. This machine is so simple. I really do like the simplicity of this. It's literally just moving this. It just opens and closes these. Now, interesting thing about this, there is a guard for this. This is a single shaft coming off of this gearbox. It's a reduction gearbox and a 90. There are 2 gears here. One's bigger than the other. Pretty sure that gear's bigger. So one of these shafts is actually spinning faster than the other. So as they're both pulling it through, one of them's actually slicing. Now I really like this design above like the Stripmeister type designs, where it has one wheel spinning at the bottom and then an idler blade at the top. I always see issues with them. It's better when you have the blades pulling through, like this system here, where there's a blade on the top and bottom pulling through. All right, hold this real quick. So we're just gonna fire this up. And now, this thing has multiple holes that you can choose from. And I'm gonna show you something really cool about this machine. Once I get it dialed in, you can literally run multiple wires at a time through this machine. All right. See that? I'd say that's pretty good. If we went any, and here's the only problem with this. See how it kind of walked back and forth? It is stripping it off, but it takes a little bit more work. I'm actually going to crank down on that just a little bit more. And this machine, because there's no give, there's no springs like this one, this machine, it's a fine line between it just stripping it and it actually cutting the wire. All right, we're gonna squeeze that just a little bit harder. There you go. Now that is making a little bit of needles, but it's stripping it in one pass. This machine will actually strip Romex in one pass, all 3 wires. Now, once you have this one dialed up, since the rollers are the same, well, let's see if, so this is actually on a different set of rollers. It is stripping it. The only thing is you got to kind of assist it, but it's coming right off. Okay? This machine will get the job done. I paid $500 for this machine from one of my customers. They still make it today, and it's like $3,000. But right here is one of the coolest features about this machine. You can feed multiple wires through at the same time. Now, whereas you still have to kind of assist it getting off, it's coming right off, okay? But I haven't seen another machine other than like a straight up granulator that you can feed multiple wires through at the same time. That was 3 wires, okay? And if you do have to assist your wire stripper on the stripping end, if you take the wire in the middle, bend it and twist it, it'll push the wire off, and then you make one pull and you pull 2 at once. Okay? Stay a little more efficient. Now, this machine over here, this is my baby. Okay? And how you adjust this one, there's multiple adjustments on this. There's actually like side-to-side adjustments, which I don't like, and the one I'm going to make, I'm going to eliminate the side-to-side adjustment because you don't want these blades moving off. And another thing you don't want is, you don't want, when you put a wire here, you don't want this side coming up and this side staying down, because it kicks your blade on an angle like this and throws the, you know, it just throws everything off. So this one here, there's actually things on the bottom to push these up, and unfortunately this Chinese thread stripped out over here, so I have to jack this up and jam a wire in there. You know how we like to rake things around here. But you got to get your tension right for the wires. If you dial this thing in right, there's no comparison to, you know, any other machine that I've seen, okay? Here, hold this for a second, Oliver. So, you never want to go on this machine, you never want to go more than 80% of the hole. So we're probably going to use this hole right here, which is the last hole where it cuts it with the blade, and then there's a roller on the back side. Okay, all the other ones have cups and blades, you know, on both sides. These three have blades up here, but just it squeezes it on the back side. Now, since we're going to be doing that and we don't want the wire to hit that roller and just get wound up in there, we actually have to loosen this and jack this up a little bit. And how we're going to do that is we're literally just going to take a piece of this wire. It's a good size wire. We're going to bend it and put this in here. We got to have a gap in there. I just kind of put a piece of wire in there and bend it around so it stays there and doesn't fall out when this thing's going up and down. And I never adjust. I actually have this cranked down so hard it can barely move because there's a gear here. It's a very dumb design. I have a better design in mind. You don't want that gear opening up, otherwise you might chip and you know, skip a tooth and actually break one. So I never let that go. It's hard to tell, but we got a gap on the back side, and then what we'll do is we'll leave this loose a little bit first, see how the first piece goes through, and then we'll adjust accordingly. Got it right on the first try. So it looked like towards the end there it actually came off with the roller. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that, see, our roller is actually not centered. So this is where these adjustments come in. I actually have to tighten this. So what we're going to do is loosen this one here. And then we'll tighten this. Stupid Chinese bolts, man. And then since we're operating on this side, we know this is going to come up a little bit. What you want to do is actually have this spring tighter and then this spring slightly looser, so that the leverage, you know, there's going to be more leverage over here. You still want this to come up level. And as you can see, we've run a lot of wire through this machine and worn out these things. I actually have an idea to make a nice new inlet. We're going to actually use a big, I got some big stock. I think I might be able to make it out of this big old stock aluminum, and we're going to make it on the milling machine, and we're going to make it real nice. But for now, we're just going to kind of work with this. Let's see what this next piece does. Hey, cut that. So a lot of times what happens is once this machine squeezes this wire, once this machine flattens the wire, it's hard to get it to go back through. We'll try it, but most of the time when it gets flat like this, I just run it through this machine because it'll cut it no matter what. The small spaghetti wire, if it gets flattened, this machine won't cut it again. Oh, we got it, we cut it. All right, now let's try. Nope, damn. So that's a huge problem. Yeah, and this machine is kind of sketch. There's a lot of moving parts, you know? Look at all that. See that wire that got wrapped up in there? You Definitely this machine will keep you on your toes. That's going to be an issue. I have to see where that blade is going, because if it's kicking off the one side, it just throws it out of that hole. Yeah, it's an odd size wire. Got to make sure we feed it straight. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Strip it in one pass. All right, we're gonna run all this little stuff real quick, and then as soon as we get through that, we'll get set up for the drag race. Okay, here we go. Okay, that was kind of a big fail, because even after I had this kind of dialed in, this thing kind of shifted around, you know, Chinese quality. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a steel bar, because these are kind of, no matter how much you tighten them, they always get loose. I'm gonna make a steel bar that goes all the way across, that's thicker, and I can get some more threads on there. This thing just walked around, and as soon as I fed it in there, it would just jump off the track, which is unfortunate. But we do have, oh wow, I forgot all about that. When I put this machine back together, I used a piece of copper wire for a master link, and that piece of copper wire has been on there for 2 years cranking, probably stripped miles of wire. So I do have, we'll go through some of this other wire. Maybe we'll use that black wire, it looks like a good spool. And we'll do the same thing. I'll set it up and see if we can't get a good run without it splitting. And then we'll get some of this wire right here going. This wire, I can actually use both of these holes and run them at the same time. Unfortunately, this machine, you can only run one size at a time, because if you're cutting here, it'll throw the wire size off over here. But let me get this thing kind of dialed back in, and we'll get another drag race going. Okay, so I got 4 equal lengths. They're not as long because I actually had one of the wires snag on something back there and was dragging something down the shop, but we don't want that to happen again. What I'm going to do is just get dialed up for this black wire, and then we're going to try our drag race again. Oliver. So this machine here, pretty simple. We're just going to crank it in a little bit. Oh, we're making needles. Yeah, that's the only problem with this machine. See what's happening there? It like twists back and forth. I mean, it strips it. Let's try a different hole. That just made some crazy needles. And it's stripping it right off, but I think there's no way of getting away from the needles. Now, I did talk to the manufacturer of this machine, and he said with a new blade, a new set of blades, it shouldn't be needling. So what I'm thinking is, I need to put them on the lathe and sharpen them with a piece of carbide. What's happening is it's rocking back and forth between all them blades. And that's one modification I wanted to do to this machine, is just make it so that it's one blade, kind of like the machine up there, so we don't get all these needles. See if I can dial that in a little bit. That's probably as good as we're going to get. Just have to wear gloves when we're messing with this. Now on this machine, unfortunately, we're going to be putting this right back in the same hole. So we really got to make sure we're dialed in here. Our gap in the back is probably okay. I'm going to squeeze down on that a little bit. Alright, I'm already seeing the problem. This thing's moving around. I need to tighten this up. Look out the backside, good? Making a lot of needles, we gotta loosen up on these. Okay, pretty dialed in now. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. We're going to stretch them out and then try this again. And hopefully this time it stays in the track. Literally more than 3 times as fast with the big machine. Now, what most of you guys don't know is one of the other functions that this is going to have is I want to be able to pull this towards me. Like right now, if I pull it towards me, it just tightens up the belt. But my ultimate goal is to have this, not only I can put it in neutral, right? But if I pull it towards me, I want this machine to speed up to probably twice as fast as what we're doing right now. I think we go about maybe 200 feet a minute, or I forget what it was. I had it figured out at one point. But this machine cooks, man. Once you have this thing dialed in, there is no comparison to this style. Not this particular one. This Chinese one is kind of garbage. I've done a lot of modifications to it. And we're going to be doing, literally, I'm just going to replicate a way better version than this. And the whole issue with this thing kicking side to side, I have an idea that'll make sure that the front and back roller only go up straight. There's not going to be any, no matter what. If you put a piece of wire over here and it pushes up here, it's going to automatically push this side up with it. And it's very simple. It's a concept that's been around from something else, and we're just going to modify it to get on this machine. And we're going to do away with this gear. We're going to actually put another chain going back here with an idler, and then back up with another chain, or we'll do something else. But the gear is dumb. I don't know why they would put that on there. I don't know why they would have a spring here so that can go up and let that gear open up. That's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But overall, a machine like this, a 4-roller system, no comparison. Now down in Miami, they just bought a brand new, like a Blue Dog or whatever it's called, brand new Made in America machine. This thing will whoop it, okay? It's slow as molasses, and that machine doesn't have reverse either. That's another thing I don't like about this machine, is there's no reverse. I'm not sure if my 220 motor here is a reversible motor. I don't know what all this stuff is. I need to put a plate here to keep this thing clean and keep all this dust from getting in the motor. But as you can see, that motor's wedged in there. That's way bigger than the motor that was in there before. And I think we're running a slightly larger pulley on this side, so we're getting a little bit more RPMs than what was originally designed for this machine. And shit gets out of hand real quick. I've had my leg wrapped up in wire and ripped up to the machine. The whole reason I have this clutch is if I fall into the machine or I need to stop it immediately. Like if you see this, it's still going, still going, still going. That's many feet. One time I had my finger wrapped up out here. I hit the off button, and by the time it was done, my finger was touching, and I was pulling on it as hard as I could. I literally thought I was going to lose my finger. And then that's why this machine, this clutch is here. I'll demonstrate the clutch real quick. The clutch really doesn't work. Well, there goes my belt. So the clutch really doesn't work when there's no pressure on the machine, okay? It'll spin. I mean, it doesn't take much. I can probably just stop this with a wrench. Like if my finger, I'm not gonna stick my finger in there, but if my finger got in there, it's gonna stop. I mean, that's nothing, right? If I put a piece of wire in there, it's gonna stop, okay? And that's the whole purpose. I can just jam this thing and stop the machine instantly, opposed to this. Ready? See how it sucked a good foot in? You want to be able to immediately stop the machine if something bad happens. You know, this has a lot of rotating mass. So, and you know, as crazy as this machine looks, it's probably the safest wire stripper on YouTube. Don't quote me on that, but you know, that's just my opinion. All right, I'm gonna set up a time lapse. So we're gonna blow through all the spaghetti real quick, and then we're gonna get on this big boy wire, and we'll have another drag race. Okay, so that was pretty much all the stuff I wanted to strip in that spaghetti. I think what I'm going to do is I might try to strip some of this small stuff. Like, look at this machine, has this little tiny hole. Like I've never fed any wire through it. I kind of want to just see. It has these super tiny little mini blades up there. I don't know. I know wire like that's not really worth stripping, so we might just send that as number one. But I'll show you that this machine and this machine is capable of stripping this. I'm going to open some of this up. I'm going to find the smallest wire I can find, and then you know, we'll probably just send the rest of this as number one insulated. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, now I'm going to show you how these machines do with some solid core wire. Now this machine, it's going to just pick one of these small blades. Okay, this machine, you can do it two ways. One, you can send it through this small one here, and then it'll squeeze it on the backside, or you can send it through this, which it'll just straight up squeeze it. Now this machine's actually missing a blade. These two things are for Romex, and then this is for just solid core wire. All right, go ahead, man. Just don't get sucked into the machine. We don't want the internet to think that we're unsafe over here. Go ahead and run it through this one first. Pretty much cleans it right off on the backside. Now run it through the far one. Cleans it right off. Now that one you might be able to run two at once. I've actually never tried it. We should try that, man. Cut that black wire in half. Let's see if we can go two at once. Here, I'll feed one, you feed the other. That way you don't get tangled. Ready? Ready, set, go. Yeah, I'd say it stripped it. So we can feed two at once in that. Now, let's try this machine. Just cut that in half. Now this machine, I mean, it does okay. See that? I mean, you have to pull the wire. Go ahead, feed another one. You have to pull the wire, but If you can grab the wire and pull it as it's coming out like that, pretty much you get this to do it in one pass, or you know, one section. Yeah, you feed that machine, I'll feed this machine. We'll see how fast they go. These are relatively the same length. Hey, make sure you're clear, dude. You're gonna get this tangled up. All right, ready, set, go. Yeah, there's no comparison there. All right. This is probably the smallest wire, this red wire. Let's see if we can get the machines to strip this. Hold this real quick. All right, this one here, this is going to be tough because it's barely in there. Now, I did take out the big spacer and I put in a thinner spacer. We do want a little gap back there, because if we don't have a gap, this will basically hit and then get all tangled up in there if it doesn't bite. And as you can see, the knurling on here is kind of glazed over, or you know, worn down. I took a grinder or I think a file and actually made some hatch marks in there, as you can see. But I need to I don't know how well that would re-knurl if I put it in a lathe, but I do have a knurling bit for the lathe and we will try that. And I actually have a whole new set of blades. Funny thing is, these are the original blades that I have had on here for probably 5 or 6 years. You know, there is a couple little chips in them here and there, but pretty much they're the same blades. I've never taken them off here. Down in Miami, their new machine, which is only a couple months old, they got gouges in there because their guys don't know what they're doing. Hey, hold this, come here. Anyway, we're gonna dial this thing in. I don't know if we have enough on the backside. Oh, look at that. Stripped it in one pass. Cleaned it right up. So this machine, it don't matter. You get it dialed in, you're gonna clean it right up. Alright. Let's try some of that red stuff through. Now this is almost small enough. I mean, I get it in there, but man, it's tight. You know, you don't want to go more than, well, at least on that machine, you don't want to go more than 80% because it could snag up this, but we're going to try that. I still haven't found any wires small enough to fit through that one yet, but we'll try this one. Give it a bend and a twist. Oh, it's coming right off. I actually did a good job, didn't even needle it up. Look at that. I don't know, man, we might sit here and strip every bit of this wire. That thing did actually a really good job at cleaning that. And barely even needled it up. We're getting a nice little chunk down in there. Not enough though. So, you know what? We're dialed in for this stuff. I think we're just gonna send it. I'm gonna strip every bit of this wire. Might as well. We're here having a stripping party. We might as well get it all. Okay, so we literally stripped every bit of that spaghetti. We only have a couple big nuggets left. We did strip some of them. Got a nice little chunk in there, but we got the machine dialed in. Now I want to show you what even though this thing, I call it the needler because it makes these needles. This is a very capable and pretty badass machine, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. But this machine here, once we got it dialed in, you know, she likes to be warmed up a little bit. It's like, you know, it's like your girlfriend, man. You can't just go sticking your wire in all the holes and expect it to go off right. She needs a little bit of tweaking and twisting and dialing in of the knobs, and then she'll run really good. That last little bit ran flawlessly. I was having a problem with this nut keeps backing out. It's, you know, there's really nothing I can do, but like I said, I want to make a bar that goes from here all the way. I can catch this bolt, drill that bolt all the way. I'll tap that all the way through, or just drill it out and put a nut and bolt. And then once the bar is in there, I can have a little more control of what's going on. I'll probably put a T-handle and a wing nut like this. But I have an idea. I'm going to call it the True Strip system, okay? And it's going to eliminate the side to side. It's going to eliminate this, and then it's going to eliminate jumping off, and it's actually going to eliminate the wires. I don't know if you've seen in the video a while back where I actually had to take this apart and weld the guides that guide the wire. Those guides are like true Chinese engineering back there, straight up garbage. I have a better idea for something back there, but it's going to be a way more precision built machine. So I have pretty much all the big steel plates I need to do it. You know, it's just going to be finding the time to do it. I'm going to start that project hopefully soon, because there's a lot I want to do to this thing that's going to make it way better, way more efficient, faster, more versatile. I'll probably want to add maybe one or two more, like the sizes here. There should be a couple more sizes in there, because going from this size to this size, there should be one in the middle here, and there probably should be one more in here with a roller or a cup and a blade on the backside. But we'll get into that later. For now, we're going to show you this right here, and what I like about this. All right, so this is what I really like about this machine, is that you can feed multiple pieces of wire at the same time. Oh! If we didn't have janky electric over here. That is stripped. 2 at once. If your circuit breaker doesn't pop, comes right off. Try with a little longer piece. And that's where we're going to have to step up our 1.5 horse motor. But I think the real issue is we're running an extension cord all the way to the front of the building, and we have a lot of stuff running off of that breaker. Let's try this again. And this is what I'm talking about. This shop has the jankiest, I mean, look at this stuff. It has the shoddiest electric, and they want me to pay to upgrade their electric, and I refuse to. I'm not paying to upgrade their shit. Okay, unfortunately, hold this. I mean, it does the job. Hold on. It'll strip two 500s at once, but it is a little underpowered, you know, I will admit that. And like, this thing was years old when I bought it. So these blades, I talked to the manufacturer, he said for $600 they sell a new set of blades and a new set of bearings. I don't think the bearings are bad. I think I asked them if they can be sharpened. He said yes, you can take them and send them out and get them sharp. Basically, they're gonna put them on a lathe or something and then sharpen these tips, you know. I can do that over here on the lathe and save myself 600 bucks. I've taken a piece of carbide from the lathe and just taken it back here and sharpened up some of these blades. It works really good. Now I'm gonna show you the difference with this machine here. See, there's no comparison. The speed and the fact that it 100% strips it in one pass, and you're not kind of, you know, like this machine, it does strip it, and I can't say it's not doing its job, but you do have to pull the insulation off, you know. It's gonna come right off, you know, but it's not just picking up straight clean copper. And you gotta watch you don't stab yourself with these needles. So, all right, we're gonna get this cleaned up, and we'll get a weight on this. I don't think it's gonna be that much. Should have a couple $100 here, and that didn't take us long at all. It took me, you know, probably as long setting up all the cameras and dealing with the, you know, video part of it as it did to strip all that stuff. You know, this machine here is just an absolute beast, and it's only going to get better. Okay, well, there you have it. Oliver did a good job cleaning all this stuff up, and we got 213 pounds of bright and shiny in here. And that little piece of insulation. So it's worth about 850 bucks, I guess. Not bad for, I don't know, we started at like 3 o'clock and it's like 4:30 now or something. And literally a lot of the time we spent was, you know, playing with the camera and whatnot. So, yeah, definitely some stuff I want to do. I mean, honestly, what I'd really like to do with this setup is turn this back the way it's supposed to be, but flip it around. I actually can just take this plate, and I'm pretty sure I can just swap this stuff around and put the plate back here. Maybe even turn these things, well, I don't think I can. I can probably turn this one around. This one has a slot. I won't be able to turn that around. I'll have to re-drill the holes for this. But I can put this on the back side, spin this in the opposite direction, and it really doesn't matter which way this goes, you know what I'm saying? But what I'd like to do is actually insert this in here, okay? And run it all off of that 5-horse motor. That way, you know, we're not worried about breaking, tripping the breaker, and this 1.5 horsepower motor it just isn't cutting it. You know, 110 volts. I mean, it does the job. Like, if you were just going to feed one at a time, this thing does great. If you were going to feed 2 at a time in the smaller one, I've actually fed 4 at a time of the smaller spaghetti wire. There's a video on my channel of me doing that. You know, obviously the bigger wire, it's a little more, you know, it takes a little more torque to get it through. But overall, this is a great machine. And with a couple tweaks that I'd like to do, I'd actually like to put a spring system in here. I think one of the reasons this thing needles stuff up is this spring system, when you have the coils like that, it allows it to ride up over top of the coils like this. This is just solid. There's no give. So it just plows through those high spots, and then you're left with all these needles. So, yeah. And then this thing here definitely needs some tweaking. The main thing with this is the side to side, the wire jumping off. You know, these little gullies down here are, you know, need a little work, and this whole thing needs to be replaced. But overall, as you've seen in the video, once I kind of dialed it in, it stripped all that wire flawlessly, really without an issue. You know, it's always a little headaches getting this thing started up. But once you're getting in the groove of things, man, there is literally no comparison to a machine like this. And we're only going to make it better, you know? We're going to make it look like this is all ghetto looking. We're going to make this look nice and actually put a roller bearing here. We're going to make this way nicer. This is actually going to have 3 functions: a neutral, this, and then an auto cutter. So instead of me stopping the machine and cutting, we'll be able to hit this button and cut it. I saved 2 electro solenoids from some switchgear. They move really fast. It has enough stroke and I think enough power for what I need. And then I have another automatic switchgear box right there. We're going to pull the one out of there. So we've got a lot of projects to do. Will we get to them all? I don't know, but we're going to try. I'll tell you where we're going, right to the scrap yard. stop or dance before?